this is always such a great event, and this is our second time to do this now, and it's rapidly become one of the highlights of the year for us. And we're certainly going to have an opportunity to recognize and honor, I believe it's 8 tremendous individuals tonight, and which speaks so highly about Tennessee Tech and its past, and I think also its future. I was with a student group yesterday, and they were just kind of having an open question session, and they were quizzing me about various things, and one of them asked me the question about what's your favorite thing about Tennessee Tech, and I actually had to stop and think for a little while, because there's so much to be proud of and enjoy about Tennessee Tech, but ultimately my answer was really pretty simple. It was the students. It's ultimately all about the students, and the students at Tennessee Tech, I believe, have always been tremendous and always been great, and I think that's represented here tonight at this event every year. But that continues to be the case. For those of us that have the pleasure of living here and working with these students, we get to experience what they do on a daily basis and how they continually surprise us with excellence in everything that they do. So. The other thing that it reminds me of is that the business that we're in higher education is a really unusual business. It's a business model that's very unique in a lot of ways, but I think one of the most important ways is that our customer is actually also our product. That students come in as customers and they leave as product. And those of you that are alums here in the room tonight are a great testimony to that, because you've gone on and done wonderful things in your life and in your careers and made great impact on the communities where you live and where you serve. And hopefully that was partially made possible because of the experiences you shared here at Tennessee Tech. So it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I'll just take a couple of minutes and kind of fill you in on where we are now at Tennessee Tech. We've gone through a pretty intensive review over the past few months to do an analysis, kind of an estimation about where we are positioned in the higher education marketplace, who our competitors are, who our peers are, and look at how we stack up, how we measure up in a lot of ways. We've had a lot of input from across campus, a lot of people involved in that. And it's been a very great learning experience for us, I believe. And from that, we've sort of set our sights on the future and decided, okay, what does that mean? What are we going to do with that? And the vision statement that we have come up with from that exercise is that Tennessee Tech will be nationally recognized as a leading technological university in the South, providing academic, economic, and cultural leadership in the region and producing practical, ready-to-work graduates from a broad range of academic disciplines prepared to compete in a technologically driven world. I think we all can say that's a worthy ambition. It's a great cause, and we all know that the world is revolving faster and faster all the time. And so it's important for us to prepare the next generation of alumni to be able to compete in that world, no matter what their academic discipline. I'm proud to say that Tennessee Tech continues to graduate students in record numbers, and we do that as one of the most affordable, accessible institutions in the country. And I can tell you our graduates continue to get good jobs when they leave. We have an all-time high freshman enrollment this year of over 2,100 students. We had a 5 percentage point increase in first-year retention rate. A near record number of graduates this past year, and we can now honestly say that we have the largest engineering undergraduate class of students in the state of Tennessee. We are currently producing about 30% of the engineers for the state of Tennessee, and we know that a vast majority of those stay in Tennessee for their careers and contribute to the local economy. We're also very proud to say that our graduates finish with the least debt, student loan debt, in the South, and one of the lowest in the nation, according to U.S. News and World Report. Nationally, the average student loan debt for 2012 was $29,400. At Tennessee Tech, that was only $6,400 on graduation. So less than a third. And more than half of our students are graduating totally debt-free. That's a great testimony to them and to us. Online College Database named Tennessee Tech among the highest starting salary colleges in the country, with one with annual tuition of less than $20,000 and whose new graduates' average starting salary is more than $30,000. Tennessee Tech students have the highest mid-career median salaries potential of any public university graduates in the state. That's according to payscale.com. The median salary for Tennessee Tech graduates after an average of 15 years experience in the workforce is over $76,000. That figure tops all Tennessee Board of Regents universities as well as all University of Tennessee campuses. Also, we're ranked as one of the state's best for return on investment based on low cost of education and high lifetime earnings. Affordable Colleges Online ranked Tennessee Tech third in Tennessee for return on investment in 2013, and that was the best among public universities. So we have a lot to be proud of. A lot of good things are going on. We're serving great students, and they're doing great things. So how are we moving forward? What are we looking forward to? Well, Flight Plan, which is what we worked on the last several months to produce that vision for the future, has become a lens that will help us prioritize those efforts going forward. Some of the things that we've been working on of late that we're beginning to see some progress in is investment in new faculty positions. That helps reduce the student-faculty ratio, increases number of courses that we can offer that are necessary for degree completion, and obviously helps students graduate on time. Freshman Flight Path is a program that we have initiated to help track class attendance for first-time freshmen. It's well known that students that don't go to class don't do as well. And so it's a program that we have initiated to help students pay attention to that and stay on track to graduate on time. We've initiated a new Office of Military and Veterans Affairs to serve our veterans that are returning to the campus. And that commitment is also represented with a renewed emphasis on our ROTC program as a good example. We've started a new advisement center where we're hiring a group of advisors to help provide a safety net for all students that come to campus. We have some tremendous advising that takes place in the academic departments and the colleges, but there's always a group of students that sort of wander around, and so we need a safety net for them, and we're putting that together as well. And of course, we need a technological infrastructure that supports all these students, and technology is a part of our world. It's definitely a part of the world they're going to compete in, and so we're going to continue to invest in technology that not only helps prepare them, but hopefully helps give them an opportunity to create the technologies of the future that others will be utilizing. In doing that, we have some opportunities to develop the campus further and to provide a lot of outreach. We find it very important to support regional businesses and the economic development of the region. We do have national aspirations, but we believe strongly that everything that we do at Tennessee Tech starts at home, and we need to have a local impact that's significant and beneficial to those that we interact with mostly. So we're supporting local business development with incubator opportunities and offering educational outreach and technical training where appropriate, and really developing an entrepreneurial spirit on campus to engage students to look for those opportunities, not to necessarily look for a job, but hopefully to create a job or two as they go into their careers. We're looking forward to building a new science building on campus. That's a $82 million project. Hopefully we'll be out of the ground with that in a couple of years. A much needed science building, and it'll be a real pivot point for the campus into the future. It will provide laboratory support for undergraduates and graduate students and as well as programs in engineering, nursing, and environmental science, supporting them as well. We have approximately $300 million worth of capital improvements lined up to do on campus in the next 5 to 7 years. So I think as proud as we are of the campus today, hopefully as time goes on, you'll see that begin to blossom to even a greater level as we attempt to serve these students. So I hope you're as proud as I am about the direction of Tennessee Tech. You know, it's not possible without great people, and we're certainly fortunate to have a tremendous faculty and a great staff, and all of them express this in very caring ways towards students. So again, it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. It's such an honor to recognize these alumni that have represented themselves and their families and certainly this campus so well, and I just love to hear the stories. So with that, congratulations to all the alumni awardees, and I look forward to hearing more of your stories. Thank you.
What a great segue into what I was going to say. Even though this is Alumni Awards, our students are also involved in this ceremony in several different ways. One is that you'll notice as the awardees receive their actual physical awards, these beautiful bronze eagle heads are actually produced by the Foundry class in the Department of Manufacturing and Engineering Technology. So students actually made these, or cast, I guess is the term, these eagle heads. Also, you noticed our musicians. I've had a couple comments on them. They did a wonderful job. They started with us 3 years ago as students. This year, one is still a student and the other two are new alums, but they enjoy coming back every year. So they're students of our music department, and we're very proud of them as well. So, but now I'd like to introduce our MC for the evening, Vice President of Advancement, Mark Hutchins.
Well, thank you, Tracy, and thanks to everyone for being here tonight. It is truly a special night, and as you can tell from what Dr. Oldham said, we've got so many great things happening at Tennessee Tech, and he left out one important fact that I want to make sure everyone knows. Yes, you too can own a purple jacket. So these are the official Tech color here, and so we're so pleased to have these out. And I've had several of you come up and say, can you get those? And yes, you can. See me afterwards and we can talk about that. So we've got an exciting program tonight. And, you know, the Alumni Association has given an Outstanding Alumnus of the Year award since 1975. In 2008, we expanded the awards to include one alumnus per year of the year per college. The Department of Athletics began honoring an alumnus last year, and these awards are given to Tennessee Tech alumni who have demonstrated professional excellence by achieving success and recognition such as to affect great pride among the faculty, students, and alumni of Tennessee Tech. Our past recipients are highly recognized scholars, writers, entertainers, business executives, scientists, politicians, athletes, and others who clearly exemplify the excellence to which the university is so deeply committed. As I introduce our award recipients this evening, you will quickly see that this class is no exception to that rule. So as we begin our awards, I'd like to invite President Oldham to come up and help me present these. Our 2014 Outstanding Alumni of the Year are as follows. For the College of Agriculture and Human Ecology, from the class of 1958 in Animal Husbandry, Mr. Jerry Beller. Jerry is a Tennessean through and through. He attended Gordonsville High School and earned his bachelor's degree in animal husbandry from Tech in 1958. 15 years into his career, he became an entrepreneur to ensure that he could stay in this region. After graduating from Tech and serving 2 years as a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division, Beller returned to Tennessee to start a sales job with the veterinary division of Norwich Pharmacal Company in Tennessee and in Kentucky. He eventually became the company's national sales manager. Rather than relocate to Philadelphia when the company moved, Beller decided to start his own company so that he could stay in Tennessee. Jerry and his wife Jackie live in Nashville, where he is CEO of Agri Sales Associates, a manufacturer's representation group involved for nearly 40 years in the sales and marketing of animal health products across North America. Beller has been a member of teams that brought 8 products to the market that went on to reach the top slot in sales in their product category across the U.S. and in Canada. Throughout his career, Jerry has retained a strong connection with his alma mater. His brother Jackie is a Tech graduate. His first hire as a manager was a Tech graduate, and he named one of his companies Eagle Enterprises in honor of the Golden Eagles. As you can see, Jerry bleeds purple and gold. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Agricultural and Human Ecology, Mr. Jerry Beller.
Thank you very much. When Dr. Bagley informed me of this, I told him at the time I did not think I deserved it, but I certainly did appreciate it. It's a privilege to be honored with these other Tech graduates, and I'd like to offer a special thanks to the Ag School for the education I got 50 some odd years ago. Most of them in the Ag School now weren't even born when I was here. But I came here to intend to be a farmer. But in the first economics class I had, they said the only way to be a farmer is to marry and inherit it if you don't have any money. Well, I knew I wasn't going to inherit it, and the marriage thing didn't look too good either. So after I got out of the paratroopers, I started as a sales rep, selling veterinary supplies in Tennessee and Kentucky. And then I started my own company. And during that time, just due to the nature of the company I have, excuse me, I've been involved with practically every major ag school in the United States, from Cornell to University of Cal Davis and all in between. And I've also hired many of those. Now, I've been involved with them recruiting, doing test work, research work, and also involved with their graduates and many of the companies I've worked with. And I can honestly say that the Tech graduates of ag school can hold their own with anybody. And I am always be proud to be a graduate of Tennessee Tech. Thank you.
Next, for the College of Arts and Sciences, a 1982 graduate in speech, Mr. Bob Luna. Bob normally has the job that I'm doing tonight, and his golden voice is one of the most well-known across the Upper Cumberland. Bob has been the voice of the Golden Eagle Marching Band for 20 years and of the Cookeville Community Band for more than a decade. He is a candidate reader for commencement at Tennessee Tech and has served as Master of Ceremonies at hundreds of meetings. Bob graduated from high school in Nashville and was recruited by Bob Woodland, the speech and debate coach, to come to Tech, where he won the state championship in intercollegiate debate in 1971. He took a break from his studies to join the U.S. Navy in 1975, where he volunteered for submarine duty. Stationed in Charleston, he served on board 2 nuclear-powered fleet ballistic missile submarines operating out of Rota, Spain. His awards include the Navy Achievement Medal, a Good Conduct Medal, Meritorious Unit Commendation, and the Silver Dolphin Submarine Qualification Insignia. In 1980, Luna was selected as Atlantic Fleet Sailor of the Year. He returned to Tech in 1981 and earned his degree in English and Speech in 1982. Between 1982 and 85, he did brief stints as news director at WTPN, WGSQ Radio, and as managing director of the Cookeville Performing Arts Center. He began his career in financial services in 1985 with J.C. Bradford & Company, where he was appointed investment limited partner. In 2005, using Raymond James Financial Services as broker-dealer, he founded his own company, Luna and Heron Investment Group, and where he is currently senior partner. In the past 30 years, Luna has been very active in this community. He is a member of the Cookeville Rotary Club, was named Rotarian of the Year in 2001, and served as president in 2003-2004. He is a founding member of the TTU College of Arts and Sciences Board of Visitors and has served as chair on the boards of the Genesis House, WCTE Upper Cumberland Broadcast Council, Cookeville First United Methodist Church, and the Upper Cumberland Chamber of Commerce. He serves as trustee at Martin Methodist College. He chaired the 2010 gubernatorial debate at Tech and has served as finance chairman for the TSSAA steering committee for the past 2 years. His wife, Gail Leonard Luna, graduated from Tennessee Tech in 1976, and both his daughters are also Golden Eagles. Susan, a graduate of 2007, and Jennifer is currently enrolled at Tech. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Arts and Sciences, Mr. Bob Luna.
I do have an hour.
You do, but not with this crowd.
Thank you, President Oldham, President Bell. Aristotle once said there's a difference between good, sound logic and logic that sounds good. This quotation is from a book that was given to me by Robert Woodland, the debate coach who recruited me to come to Tennessee Tech in the early 70s. He taught me the value of communication skills, which I believe has served me well throughout my life and career. Over the years, I've been asked to speak to a lot of classes at Tech in many different colleges, English, business, human ecology. I usually take a copy of the Wall Street Journal and I drag out the want ads, classifieds, job openings. And I tell the students, look at the job descriptions on all of the middle senior management jobs. Without exception, they require exceptional oral and written communication skills. Without exception. And I'm convinced that the communication skills I learned at Tennessee Tech have enabled me to be successful more than anything else. Chapter 2. The newspaper, the underground newspaper, the one that I was alleged to have published when I was a student in the early 70s. Yes, it's true. It was me. I did it. It started off as a joke. It was a one-page little mimeograph award that I had given to my debate partner, who had then become the ASB Chief Justice of the Supreme Court or something like that. It was supposed to be a joke, so I mimeographed about 10 copies of it, hung it up around the second floor of the University Center. No big deal. It caused a huge flap all over campus. And I thought, I may be onto something here. So I did it again the next week, and the week after, and the week after. Eventually, I ended up actually publishing a tabloid. I started selling advertising and making money. Loved it. Loved it. Actually, my paper endorsed Dwight Henry for ASB president. You won that contest, didn't you, Dwight? Yeah, it was close until you got my endorsement, and then it was a runaway win. Congratulations, Dwight. Yeah. President Everett Derryberry always got the first copy. His secretary, Ms. Helen Irwin, would let me into his office. I'd drop one on his desk. He never would speak to me. He smiled at me, but we both knew he could not acknowledge what I had just dropped on his desk. I knew he had a sense of humor, and he did, and I appreciate President Derryberry more than you will know. Chapter 3, the United States Navy. Submarine service was great duty. The nuclear Navy had a lot of very smart and talented people. I learned a lot from them and had a lot of responsibility at a young age. After 4 years of sea duty, I've been all over that portion of the world, and I've never seen any of it because I was underwater the whole time. Finally got shore duty in Charleston, South Carolina. I was at the Polaris Materiel office. My commanding officer apparently liked the fact that I kept my hair cut, I kept my shoes shined, kept my uniform clean. he recommended me for the Sailor of the Year for our local command. At each one of these Sailor of the Year events, you had to do an interview and a little public speaking. I became the PMO Lance Sailor of the Year, the Submarine Squadron 16 Sailor of the Year, the Subgroup 6, the Sub-Lant, and finally I was sent to Norfolk at the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. They set me up in the Admiral's Public Affairs Conference Room where he briefed Congress and the fleet and maybe the President, who knows. Here I am in this conference room. They flip on the lights, turn on the TV cameras. There are two two-star admirals and one three-star admiral who starts asking me questions about Navy policy, about foreign affairs, big picture stuff. Fortunately, the debate skills I learned at Tennessee Tech, I told the admiral what I thought. Apparently he liked it because I won that award. All right. Chapter 4. It's 2004. First National Bank here had decided to do a fundraiser for the School of Nursing. They brought Vince Gill in to do this fundraiser over at Hooper Evelyn. My friend Thomas Lynn invited me to be the MC. I got to introduce Vince Gill, and I thought, I'm going to impress old Vince. I'm going to tell him what a great place Tennessee Tech is and what a great nursing foundation and nursing school we really have. So I cranked it up over at the Hooper Evelyn. We had a great crowd there. You know, I got up and said something about 13-time Emmy winner, 16 #1 hits, Country Music Hall of Fame, and you know, all that stuff. Well, Vince liked it so much, he offered me a job. He wanted me to go on the road with him and be his front man. Communication skills I learned at Tennessee Tech. All right, if Vince Gill gets about 95%, which is about what I did over at the Hoop that night, who gets 100? Yeah, the band. I've had the honor and privilege of introducing the Golden Eagle Marching Band for the last 20 years. I've been at every football game for the last 20 years and have enjoyed it so much. You know, it started when the band director at Tech had seen me emceeing some event out in town, and he said, you know, the guy we've got is somewhat dull and boring. Is there any chance you could read this script and put just a little bit of enthusiasm in it? I said, yeah, I think I can do that. I'm your boy. Let me give it a shot. Well, he did and I did, and apparently he liked what I did because hopefully I'm still doing it. Anyway, the quality of the students and the talent of those band kids continues to improve every year. At the very last game this season, the band students, I guess to honor my 20 years of service, named me an honorary member of Kappa Kappa Psi, the professional band fraternity. I am very proud of what those band students did for me. Enjoyed it. Thank you, Tennessee Tech, for the opportunity to serve. Finally, I want to share with you tonight the best thing that ever happened to me. And that was when I met my wife, Gail, at Tennessee Tech. You were always there to support me. The only reason I've been able to do all these things was because you were there with me. We met in a history lecture class in the basement of Henderson Hall in the spring of 1974. Thank you, Gail, and thank you, Tennessee Tech. I appreciate everything.
Now, Bob, before you get too far away, I think it's only fair, in the spirit of speech and debate, we're going to offer a 60-second rebuttal from Mr. Dwight Henry.
I just wanted to invite you to join me in the corner over there for about an hour and a half after this is over, and I'll tell you about the dark side of Bob Luna. I've been wanting to share this for really over 40 years. It was between my junior and senior in high school, and the speech teacher at my high school said, Dwight, do you have $40? And for the first time in my life, I actually did have $40. I'd been working all summer. She said, want to send you to a debate clinic. I said, really? Well, she'd seen me in a speech tournament. I'd been in 3 speech tournaments for her. I'd finished last in all of them. And why did you want to send me? I said, where is this debate clinic? She said, far away Cookeville, Tennessee. I never really heard of Cookeville. On a college campus, I thought, well, I'm not really all excited about debate, but spending a week on a college campus for rising high school seniors sounded like a lot of fun. So I did that, and we got up there, and the week got off to a rough start, and but finally, I think it was Dr. Woodland. Mr. Woodland said to us, we've assigned myself and my partner were there, and we didn't know debate from third base. I mean, we didn't know anything about it. Scared stiff and all of that, and said, we have assigned all of you student coaches. I said, wonderful, I need to coach for sure. And so this student, and in fact, he and his partner last year won the state tournament. I thought, this is sounding pretty encouraging for somebody who didn't, scared, never done really well in the speech tournament at all. Long story short, we listened to that coach, and at the end of that week, my partner and I, who had never debated, didn't know anything about it, were undefeated. We won it all. We won it all. And those skills, and that I began to develop confidence in that week at Tennessee Tech University in the early 1970s under the mentorship of, yes, Bob Luna, I've used in ministry, in sales, in public service. Those are the same skills that have served me well all these years. And I wanted to be able to share that with you tonight and to congratulate my friend Bob. And Bob, thank you, buddy. You didn't know how much of a difference you're making in my life that week. God bless you, sir, and congratulations on tonight. Mm-hmm.
Okay, for the rest of you, I don't think there's any rebuttal. I think you're okay. So, next, for the College of Business, a 1957 accounting graduate, Mr. Grady Williams. Grady Williams graduated from Tennessee Tech with honors and a degree in accounting after working to pay almost all of his own way through college. Born and raised in East Tennessee, Grady was one of 6 children and the first in his family to go to college. After graduation, Williams wandered Chattanooga looking for a job before settling at Hazlett, Lewis & Biter accounting firm in 1957. Following a 2-year leave of absence to serve as a U.S. Army paratrooper infantry officer, Williams was discharged as a captain and returned to that firm in 1968 as a partner. He spent 47 years with the company. Grady served as president of the Tennessee Society of Certified Public Accountants and received its Public Service Award in 1992. He also served on the Tennessee State Board of Accountancy for 15 years. Outside of his profession, Grady believes strongly in service and has spent his life trying to make this world a better place. He is heavily involved in the Chattanooga community, serving on the Chattanooga State Foundation, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga Foundation, and the United Way, among others. For his good works, Grady received the Kiwanis Club Distinguished Service Award, the Tennessee Board of Regents Chancellor's Award for Excellence in Philanthropy, and just this past weekend was awarded the prestigious Heart Ball honoree by the Chattanooga Heart Association. At his alma mater, he is a member of the College of Business Foundation Board of Trustees and has helped a large number of students fund their education. 4 to 5 business students every year receive the Grady Williams Scholarship, and he organizes other Chattanooga area alumni to help raise funds for other scholarships. And Grady, I know some of your recipients are here in the room with you tonight. He is honored to have joining him tonight several current and past students of that scholarship. Grady is currently affiliated with Lattimore Black, Morgan & Kane, PC, and Capital Mark Bank and Trust in Chattanooga, and Grady and his wife Phyllis are the proud parents of 2 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and wonderful grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Business, Mr. Grady Williams.
Thank you, Mark. I'll make this short and sweet. He said I was the first in my family of 6 to attend college. I was the only one of 6 to attend college. Only 3 graduated from high school, and one of those I think got it by GED. But anyway, for some reason or other, I wanted to go to college. No way I could afford to go, but I just went anyway. I worked it out and worked my way through school. I've been very blessed in the profession, the CPA profession. I've gotten to do so many things I never dreamed of doing, and I've been blessed in that profession and in the community. And I want my students to stand out here and give them a round of applause. I've got several there that thank you. And I started to say the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I do have an endowed scholarship that will be there forever for kids going to college. But I think the number one thing is I talked my high school sweetheart Phyllis into marrying me 55 years ago, and that is number two. Y'all are number two out there, but thank you so much. I don't deserve this, but thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Next, for the College of Education, Mr. Mark Henrich. Mark, I may mess this up, but I'm going to try it anyway. So, Mark grew up in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I'll spell that for you if you want me to, but trust me, it's there. And he graduated from Tennessee Tech in 1975 with his bachelor's degree in psychology, and in 1976 with a master's degree in educational psychology and guidance. While pursuing his undergraduate degree, he was a scholarship athlete on the varsity tennis team. He graduated with a doctorate from the University of Alabama, and while there, he served on Coach Paul Bear Bryant's athletic staff. He spent the next 28 years working in a number of positions at Carson-Newman College, now Carson-Newman University, including professor and chairman of psychology and graduate studies in school counseling, dean of social sciences and education, associate provost, and vice president for academic affairs. In January 2008, he became the president of Shelton State Community College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He served there for 5 years. In 2012, the Alabama State Board of Education unanimously elected him chancellor for the Alabama Community College System, which serves more than 250,000 students a year. As chancellor, he is the CEO of a 25 community and technical college system and 1 military institute. As you will tell from viewing his work, Mark is committed to developing strategies to unite the Alabama Community College system under the goal of improving the state's economic and well-being by creating a well-educated and highly skilled workforce. He and his wife Elaine, also a Tennessee Tech graduate, live in Montgomery, Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Education, Dr. Mark Heinrich.
Thank you very much for that. It actually is Oconomowoc, but you got it pretty close. A few weeks ago, I was introduced at a Rotary Club, and the way they introduced me, they said you can speak as long as you'd like, but we're leaving at 1 o'clock. So I promise I'll be very brief. But I'm incredibly honored to be recognized by my alma mater, and I'd like to begin by thanking the Director of Alumni Relations, Tracy. Appreciate all that you've done. And communications writer, Lori, who stayed in touch with me on a number of occasions. Just very grateful for your persistence. I recall with great clarity my first day at Tennessee Tech, September of 1971. My parents dropped me off and left for Wisconsin. I don't know that I really wanted to admit it, but I was homesick. I was homesick for a number of weeks. But what made the difference is what I've come to describe as the TTU culture. They embraced me. The Cookeville community embraced me as well. And it literally changed my life forever. And I'm just incredibly grateful for that. I found the faculty and staff to be tremendously welcoming here, many of whom I've stayed in touch with throughout my career, throughout my life. I'll have to admit, unlike probably some of the honorees, I had some serious career concerns. I wasn't always the best student in the world, particularly my freshman and sophomore year, but the faculty and staff were always there ready to assist me, and it made all the difference in the world. I remember individuals like Dr. Skinner in chemistry. Some of you may not remember these individuals. He was actually my first advisor. The doctors Romine, the Roars, Dr. Edwards, Dr. Quattlebaum in psychology, Dr. Whitaker and Clark in history. But there was one professor who reached out at a time when I was really struggling and didn't really know what direction I needed to go. And that was Dr. Richard Trollstrup, who served many years here at Tennessee Tech. He was a young faculty member at that time. I actually beat him to Tennessee Tech. He came a year or two after I had arrived. He taught me how to write, how to present, how to publish. He would also remind many of us while we were beginning to slack off and get lazy, and this is a quote that I've used many times, you can't be who you need to be if you remain where you are. You can't be who you need to be if you remain where you are. In other words, if you fail to work hard, if you fail to take risks, if you're afraid of change, you're not going to grow. It's an incredibly important lesson that he taught me. I also remember with great fondness many early mornings sitting in Dr. Trollstrup's office on one of his 5-gallon buckets filled with formaldehyde and human brains. I know that sounds a little nasty after dinner, but nonetheless, that was the scene. Discussing a senior thesis or a SEPA presentation. Those are, again, very, very fond memories. There's a quote that has always stuck with me, and I think it fits this particular event as well as anything that I can recall. And I've been told that this quote is often misquoted and that I'm going to misquote it as well, but so be it. Here it is. We are like dwarfs sitting on the shoulders of giants. We see more and things that are more distant than they did, not because our sight is superior or because we are taller than they, but because they raised us up and their great stature added to ours. That, in a nutshell, was my Tennessee Tech experience. Had it not been for giants like Dr. Trollstrup, my life would have been much poorer. Eric Hoffer, another individual that I enjoy reading, has a quote, and he says this: "The hardest arithmetic to master is that which enables us to count our blessings." Well, I'm deeply grateful to Tennessee Tech for this recognition, but more importantly for the impact the Tennessee Tech culture had on my life. And I'm so grateful to God for more blessings than I can possibly count. And I thank my wife, my best friend Elaine, who is seated over there, also a TTU graduate, for her unending support. Thank you very much.
Next, for the College of Engineering, a 1980 graduate in civil engineering, Mr. David Wright. David Wright's career has been exactly what Tech's College of Engineering hopes all of its graduates aspire to have. After graduating from Tech in 1980 with a degree in civil engineering, Wright went on to earn a master's degree from the University of Texas at Austin. He spent about a decade working for John Carpenter and Associates, and he spent about a decade with Stanley D. Lindsay and Associates, and also with Lockwood Green Engineers. During his career, he has embodied the college's idea of being a Renaissance engineer, using and adopting techniques from Europe that had never been before used in the United States, and working to construct and improve a variety of industrial and technology projects across the country. In 1994, Wright and his former boss, John Carpenter, became partners and formed Carpenter Wright Engineers. Today, in addition to helping to create engineering solutions for businesses and organizations nationwide, the company employs about 25 people in their Nashville and Knoxville offices. Wright has continued to be a part of the tech community over the years. He and his wife, the former Connie Lefevre of Lebanon, met at Tech and are proud members of the Eagle Society and the university's President's Club. He is also chairman of the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department's Advisory Board and was named Tech's 2010 Engineer of Distinction. He has served as the Nashville Branch President and District 9 Delegate of the American Society of Civil Engineers and is a member of the Mount Juliet Breakfast Rotary Club. Being part of a long line of Tech graduates, in addition to David and his wife Connie, parents Richard and Harriet, sister Carolyn, and children Brendan, Jordan, and a daughter-in-law Rebecca are all Golden Eagles as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Engineering, Mr. David Wright.
Tracy Russell and I are making plans to go to Dillard's to have some of these jackets made if you'd like to join us. My wife said it looked like we had dropped into a special Tennessee Tech special winners of the Masters tournament. I really have to start by confessing that I really didn't want to come to Tennessee Tech. When I graduated from Putnam County High School in 1975, things had changed. I had always thought that I was going to play baseball for Tennessee Tech. And of course, that was just before I started playing baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals. But Dr. Bill Francis told me that other things had to happen. He could not fix my shoulder. I could not pitch anymore. I couldn't even play third base anymore, and I needed to start getting serious about education. So I had to go to Plan B. Plan B for me was to become a lawyer. To me, in 1975, I thought the only way to really become a lawyer was to get myself ready for the University of Tennessee Law School, which must mean that I had to go to the University of Tennessee and get a degree in pre-law so I would be ushered on a fluorescent orange runway to the Tennessee School of Law. This grand scheme failed to really consider the full ride scholarship that I had received from Tennessee Tech, but at 18 years old, that really didn't matter to me. I guess it did to my parents, but not to me. But a family friend from our church, many of you will know, Walter Keith Crawford, came to visit. I still have never gotten a straight answer from my parents whether they set him up to come talk to me or if he did this on his own. But Attorney Crawford came to me and said, David, I hear you want to go to law school. I said, yes, I do, Mr. Crawford. He said, I hear you are going to major in pre-law. I said, yes, sir. He goes, what if you don't like it? And I had no answer. He said, well, do you know what my degree is in? And I did not. And he said, electrical engineering. And I had never heard such a fanciful tale. So, I had to make phone calls, write letters because the internet had not been invented yet. Well, at least the public part of the internet had not been invented yet. And actually, I found out that he was correct, and that law schools valued engineers. So I thought, it's not a bad plan. I'll take my scholarship, I'll go to Tech, and then I'll go to law school. So now I'm up to Plan C. Now, I do want to tell you, just because I admitted I didn't want to come to Tech, I really did want to come to Tech back in 72, 73, 74 when I still had a good shoulder and I thought I could play ball. But because I had grown up, some of you know that I grew up on Tech's campus. My parents, Richard and Harriet, moved us into the Smith Quad where they were the head residents when I was 1 year old. I grew up playing in the quad. We ate family Sunday meals in South Hall. I attended elementary school at Tech Campus School, right? We always went to school when it snowed because our parents were teaching. I remember going to basketball games in the steamy, hot Memorial Gym, and football games at the old football field that was located in the parking lot that is now between Ellington Residence Hall and Prescott Hall. And if you tell that to a student today, they will not believe you that that's where the football field was. I spent many weeks during Boy State because my dad was a director of Boy State. And then later, I actually got to go to Boy State as a delegate from Putnam County High School. As Mark said, both my parents are graduates, as well as my sister Carolyn. By the way, she's a lawyer now. My wife Connie, my oldest son Jordan, and soon in 2015, my youngest son Brendan. My daughter-in-law Becca also attended Tech, and Brendan's girlfriend Catherine is currently a sophomore at Tech. We are on a roll. I'm very proud of being a 3-generation Tech family. Who knows, we might be able to get to 4 or 5 or even more of Wright graduates from Tennessee Tech. We have recently instituted a scholarship in honor of my father, Richard Wright, for his many years of service to Tennessee Tech. Wouldn't it be really something if one of those young Wrights in the future decided to major in engineering and applied and won the Richard Wright Scholarship? But back to my plan C. During my senior year at Tech, I began the process of applying to law schools, but something happened along the way. I learned that I actually liked this engineering stuff. So I decided to also send out some applications to engineering schools, so maybe I would work on a master's degree, then I could always go to law school after that. So now I guess I'm up to plan D. This is what I really want to share. This experience of applying to graduate schools in engineering made me begin to realize what others thought about Tennessee Tech. I was really not an exceptional student. My diploma does not include the words magna or even summa. I felt with my modest academic success from a small technological university in the Upper Cumberland, Tennessee, I would be fortunate to even be awarded a paid assistantship. Imagine my surprise when I found myself with fellowship offers from 3 schools: Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, and the University of Texas. I had no idea those schools would even know where Tennessee Tech was located, much less take a chance on one of their graduates. I accepted the offer from Texas, and when I arrived, I found that Texas had had other Tennessee Tech graduates come before me and that they had found success. I had benefited from the ground that had been plowed before me by other Golden Eagles. That may not be surprising to you, but I was shocked. I did find some success at Texas, and I left with my master's degree in 1982. I had decided that I wanted to earn my professional engineering license before I went to law school. So I had to work for 3 years. I would earn my professional registration, then I would finally go to law school, and then you know where this story is going. I never made it to law school. I fell in love with the engineering, and I've been there ever since. I play around with lawyers, I advise them, but now that I work with them, I don't want their job. As various doors opened and closed, I navigated my way through life the best I could. Connie and I got married. We had 2 great sons who loved to play baseball, which allowed me to resolve some of my frustrations of having my baseball career cut short. You see, we won 2 Little League state championships and 3 runner-ups. My life's complete. Jordan and Brendan have also hung up their gloves and cleats after high school, just like their old man did, and they are benefiting from concentrating on earning a Tennessee Tech education. I guess the family cycle continues. So now I found myself as senior principal and CEO of Carpenter Wright Engineers with about 25 employees and 2 offices located in Nashville and Knoxville. The founder of the firm, John Carpenter, has now retired, so we are in our 2nd generation of ownership of the firm. I am making plans now for that 3rd generation of owners to take the reins when I retire. So our decisions on hiring are critical for the future of our organization. Let me share with you about my 2 most recent hires, both from Tennessee Tech. Both are 2013 graduates of Tennessee Tech with master's degree in civil engineering with an emphasis in structures. Taylor has been working in our Nashville office for 12 months. He has been working on the design of the new Airbus assembly building in Mobile, Alabama, with trusses that span 240 feet. Now, if you're a structural engineer, you just got shivers for doing that. During our interviews, I asked Taylor which office he was interested in, and he told me that he preferred Nashville because some of his Tennessee Tech buddies had also found jobs in Nashville, and they were excited about getting involved in an inner city ministry. Taylor is an excellent engineer, and he is going to be an excellent future manager of our company. But he's going to succeed because he cares about others. Rebecca went to work in our Knoxville office. She also has been there for a year. She has been working on all 3 of the new schools that are being built in Putnam County right now. That's the project that she's been assigned to. During our interviews, I asked her why she did not have a lot of participation in some of the extracurricular activities that I normally see. And she explained that she had to pay her way through school, and she had started a business supplying jalapeno peppers to Mexican restaurants across the Upper Cumberland, grown in an unused greenhouse back home in Crossville. That kind of resourcefulness is a valuable asset to a firm, and I hired her on the spot. It is my observation that Taylor and Rebecca are not extreme outliers at Tennessee Tech. As I have gotten to know many of these students, I have found that almost all of them have a special story to tell. In my experience, the typical Tech student comes from a hard-working, well-grounded family and understands what it takes to be successful. They do not expect things to be easy or to be given a participation award for showing up at work. In fact, even though the 3 other principals in our company have degrees from the University of Tennessee, the University of Kentucky, and the University of Memphis, they all agree that we need to concentrate our recruitment efforts here in Cookeville, Tennessee at Tennessee Tech. I will be back at Tech on February 20th at the Engineering Job Fair to try to find that next star to hire at Carpenter Wright Engineers. And when the day finally comes for me to retire and make way for the next generation of principals, I will be surprised if at least one Tennessee Tech graduate is not part of the future leadership of our firm. We should be proud of the graduates we are sending forth from this special place. Please keep sending these fine young engineers to Carpenter Wright Engineers. And after we select ours, then they can go look at some of these other places. Thank you, Tennessee Tech, for being an important part of my life. As they say, from the cradle to the grave. I really did move on this campus when I was 1 year old. I'm not sure many people can say that. I'm not sure I'll die here, but I'll try to make it happen. And I'm going to trust that the future Golden Eagles from the Wright family will also find that their future has been brightened by spending time on this campus. This is a very special place, and we owe it to the future generations to keep Tech on top. My favorite colors will always be purple and gold. Thank you.
From the College of Interdisciplinary Studies, a 2003 graduate in interdisciplinary studies, Mr. Danny Brooks. Danny Brooks has been the president and CEO of Dan Brooks & Associates for 32 years. His other businesses are American Wine and Spirits, Freedom Discount Tobacco, American Roof and Construction, and Freedom Car Wash. He is also the chief executive of CSA Prep Star, a high school athletics recruiting company. Brooks graduated from Tennessee Tech in 2003 with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. He attended Lees McRae Junior College from 1975 through 1977, and then transferred to Tennessee Tech. He attended Tech from 77 to 1979 and played football during his years on campus. He served as a volunteer coach for Tech for 4 years under Jim Ragland. After coaching in the 1990s, he did the color commentary for WCTE at Tech football games for 6 years. He has been married to a Tennessee Tech graduate, Karen Randolph Brooks, for 14 years, and the pair have 3 children, Leslie Brooks Thompson, who is a 2008 graduate of Tech, Julie Brooks, and stepson Brent Harris, and they have a new boss in their family, 20-month-old granddaughter Lenora Kay Thompson. In his spare times, Brooks still supports the Golden Eagle football team, loves to play golf, and spend time at the lake, and he and his Karen spend their winters in sunny Florida, from which they return just for this event. And I talked to him beforehand, and it's cold enough they're going back to Florida very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the College of Interdisciplinary Studies, Mr. Danny Brooks.
I really am following some really good speakers tonight. And if I'd have known that, I would have paid $100 to talk before you, Bob. I really want to thank Dr. Tennant for recommending me for this prestigious award. And Dee Dee, I got to tell you, it's really nice to say Dr. Tennant. He just was announced a doctor just recently, and I've known Dee Dee for 20 plus years, and nobody's more prouder of being that than he is. So thank you very much. The thing that, when I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about, was that there are 3 people in my life that if it wasn't for them, I would not be here today. The first one, of course, is my mother. Most of the people in this room don't know my mother. My mother passed away in 1999. She worked for me. She was the most amazing person. She could do anything. When I was going to high school, she made our clothes. When my dad's employer needed to have a mural painted on the wall of a Toyota dealership, she painted it. She went from there to doing an exhibit in a bank, and for the next 6 or 7 years had to make duplicate paintings of the ones that she sold at this exhibit. There was nothing that she couldn't do. In 1983, with a bad experience in the business world, I moved my parents to Tennessee, to Cookeville, and my mother was my office manager for about 15 years. And the only thing that I can really tell you about my mother is that if you know me, you knew my mother, because I was a splitting image in just about everything in the way that she brought me up. The second person, and truly I would not be here today, is Ms. Wheatley. I came to Cookeville January 4th of 1977 in a 62 Chevrolet Impala. Everything that I owned in the trunk, not in the car, in the trunk. But if you remember the 62 Chevrolet Impalas, you could put about 8 people in that trunk. It was about 8 inches of snow on the ground. I started from Lynchburg, Virginia on January 2nd. I spent one night in Kingsport because back then the interstate was about 10 years old. They closed the interstate. They didn't know how to scrape them or put salt down or anything else. The second night, I spent the night in Harriman. The one thing that I didn't tell you was that my dad gave me $20 when I left Lynchburg, Virginia, and when I got to Cookeville, I had less than $1. And I had one lady that was going to charge $10 for the room in Harriman, and I had 7. So I told her that I had a half a tank of gas. I was going to park right in front of her little apartment. And when my gas ran out and I froze to death, that it would be on her conscience for the rest of her life. At about 11:30, she came out and knocked on the window. And she says, "Now, how much do you have?" I said, "I've got $7. She said, "I'll take $5.50, get in here." And about 2 o'clock the next day, I pulled in into Tennessee Tech with the thought of going to school for a couple years and going back to Virginia. 37 years later, I'm still in Cookeville. Ms. Wheatley was like my second mom, because when I pulled into the campus of Tennessee Tech University, I knew absolutely no one. I had talked to the coach on the telephone and had never met him. So when I came to Tech, when I say I knew no one, I knew no one. She just did everything for me. You know, she would point me in the directions of classes. It's funny that you brought up J.B. Clark, because the very first quarter, and back then we did quarters, was with J.B. Clark. And I had him at 9 o'clock in the morning, and he climbed through the window, because he always had the classroom on the bottom floor, and he got up on the desk and he put that flashlight in his mouth and started circling around and asked, what am I? And I said, "Where in the world have I come to?" Now, as you look in this program, as you see, it says 2003. I graduated from high school in 1975. Well, I was at a basketball game, and I kind of support Tech and have been so for quite a few years. And Ms. Wheatley was walking in the little outskirts of the at the hoop. She ran by me. We walked by each other. I always said, "Hello, Ms. Wheatley." I didn't even know her first name for 20 years. And she took about 2 steps. She turned around. She said, "Danny, wait a second. There's a program that I want you to come by my office that I want you to check on." And that was when interdisciplinary studies had just kind of come about, I think 2 years before. And I said, okay. So I went to see her the very next day. She had everything about me laid out on her desk. She already had me all scheduled out. Hadn't asked me, I didn't even know why I was going there. And about 48 hours later, I was enrolled back at Tech. And this would have been 2002. And it was unbelievable. I mean, it was a whirlwind. We had a little bit of an issue trying to find my EQE. And honey, I'm sorry, I did talk about the EQE. I have the record of taking EQE, talking about not doing real good for the first couple years. I think I took it 7 or 8 times. Well, they couldn't find my record, but Homer Kemp, who was a dean of English at one time, was sitting over at a place where I was, and he said, "Danny, you're telling me that you student taught at the junior high? I said, yes, sir. Henry Fincher, not Henry, but his dad, Mr. Fincher, was my teacher. And he said, well, if you student taught, you passed the EQE. And I said, Homer, I love you, because I was ready to just throw in the towel again. Well, we got it all worked out, and Dr. Bell handed me my diploma because my wife, who was a 31-year educator, was not going to let me not walk that stage. And by the way, I was the second oldest person in my class of December of 2003. But Ms. Wheatley, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be standing here today. She's always thought of everybody. Now, let me tell you something. I'm being real nice to her, but when I was at Tech, she could be a fireball. Because if you missed class, Coach Wade knew it by 9:05 if you missed your 8 o'clock class. And I probably ran more Indian relays for Coach Wade than any player in the history of Tennessee Tech University. At least 20 miles. Because he would fall asleep up in the stands and I would have to keep running until he woke up. And I was also the dean of study hall, which meant for the first couple years that I was here, I didn't know I was here. But all of a sudden, everything got clear. And Ms. Wheatley, thank you so much, because I would have gone back to Virginia and wouldn't be standing here today. The third person, and I've kind of kept it when I was putting this together, she really has to know a lot of what I'm doing, is my wife of 14 years. Karen and I went to Tech at the same time back in the 70s. She was a big-time athlete. I was kind of a nobody that didn't know a lot of people. And we just kind of disappeared for about 20 years of not knowing what was going on, and then all of a sudden we came back together. Karen and I got married on the 18th green of Cookeville Golf Club in June of 2000. I proposed to her on 1/1/00. 60 days later, I found out I had colon cancer. And talk about shaking up your life. You know, everybody has experienced it, whether it's a family member or whatever. But in my life, it was reality. And I was 43 years old. 43-year-olds aren't supposed to have colon cancer. And if you do get it at 43 years old, you are a statistic about 3 to 5 years later. But the reason that I say that in the beginning that these three people, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today, is that if she hadn't picked up the phone and called that doctor after I experienced a couple things, because I had been an athlete, I just thought it was hemorrhoids, okay? And anybody that's played sports knows the case of hemorrhoids is horrible. And you women do it for other reasons, but I'm talking mainly about the guys. So I hadn't gotten up the nerve yet to go to my doctor because I was, and then she finally picked up the phone and called the doctor and says, you're going. And if I have to bust you upside the head and drag you in the car, we're going. And it's a great thing that she did, because if I'd have waited as long as I would have taken to go to the doctor, I wouldn't be here today. She is my soulmate through and through. She's a tough old 31-year coach, teacher. I tried like crazy to get her 1,000 wins, and she wouldn't ever do it. She had 967 wins in 31 years. And I said, honey, we can put retirement out one more year so you can get your 1,000 wins. But when she was done, she was done. But If it hadn't been for her, I wouldn't be here today. So even though it took me 28 years to walk the stage, I had walked through the hoop many, many times over the years as a supporter of Tennessee Tech. Tech's been great to me in so many ways that, you know, when you start writing them down, you just can't name them all. I've lived here for the majority of my adult life. This year will be 37 years. And I can't imagine being anywhere else. And I've had opportunities. My businesses has been, you know, if I'd really wanted to make a whole lot more money, I would have moved to Nashville back in the 80s. But because of the local school systems and Tennessee Tech, it was just something about the purple and gold I couldn't leave. So the one thing that I want to say more than anything is, for those three wonderful people in my life, thank you very much, because without you, I wouldn't have be standing up here tonight. Thank you.
For the Whitson Hester School of Nursing, a 1988 graduate in nursing, Steve Talbert. Steve earned his master's degree in nursing from Tech in 1988, where he was active in the student nursing associations with the Chemical Medical Science Club and in the men's chorus. He continued his education at the University of Alabama at Birmingham for a master's degree, and at the University of Kentucky, where he received his doctorate degree. He spent more than a decade in the field at hospitals around the country, working as a staff nurse at the University of Maryland Medical Center, Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and the University of Alabama Hospital. He was a clinical nurse specialist in Savannah's Memorial Medical Center and a flight nurse at the Milton S. Hershey Medical Center in Pennsylvania and the University of Kentucky Medical Center. Throughout his career, Steve has worked to advance his field through research. He has published 21 papers in professional journals, given 20 presentations to others in his field, and served on the editorial boards of 2 journals. He has done original research into improving triage through the use of computers and airway protection, funded by the National Institute of General Medical Sciences and the National Institutes of Health. Since 2003, he has also helped to educate the next generation of nurses as a professor at Duke University's School of Nursing and the University of Central Florida College of Nursing. He is the son of the late Gene Talbert, who taught in the College of Education at Tennessee Tech for 30 years. His younger brother Doug is currently chairperson of the Department of Computer Science at Tech, and his older brother David, also a Tennessee Tech graduate, is director of bands in the Putnam County School System. And his sister-in-law Angela is also a Tennessee Tech grad. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the Whitson Hester School of Nursing, Dr. Steve Talbert.
I have a very small speech, I guess I wanted to say. I remember Dr. Whitaker. Someone said Dr. Whitaker. I remember him. Yeah, he is certainly a character. Once you've had Dr. Whitaker, you don't forget him. But he was a great guy. I learned more about English, I think, than history. But he certainly was very helpful. I want to say thank you to Tennessee Tech, the Alumni Association, the School of Nursing, for this great honor. It's a privilege to be here. I never dreamed I would be in a position like this when I graduated from Tennessee Tech. There are a few people that I want to thank as well very quickly. My mom and dad obviously had a great influence on me. My dad, I grew up on college campuses, from the University of Oklahoma to Arizona State to Oklahoma Christian and then Tennessee Tech. I don't think I was ever off a college campus when I was growing up. My brothers, obviously, they're both Tennessee Tech grads. We had a lot of fun together, funded research with my younger brother Doug in computers. And I look forward to seeing the direction that Tennessee Tech is going with a lot that they're doing with computing and big data. It's very exciting what they're doing with healthcare informatics as well. To my family who couldn't be here with me, my son who's at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, being a student, hopefully. To my daughter who's desperately trying to get a college scholarship in volleyball, so I think Danny and I need to talk later. And to my wife who's always stood by my side, who is an MTSU graduate. But she's a wonderful, wonderful woman who's really supported me through a lot that I've done. There's 3 professors at Tech that I want to thank. None of them could be here tonight, but I remember my first day at Tennessee Tech, my very first class. My father got his doctorate from the University of Oklahoma, and I've been a Sooner fan all my life, so I wear Oklahoma stuff all the time. And I wore a University of Oklahoma shirt to my first day of chemistry, where Dr. Chris McGowan was my professor. Some of you know this, okay. And I'd heard stories that chemistry was used to weed out engineers, that if you survived chemistry, then you could be an engineer at Tech. And I started off as an engineer for my first year. And so I was sitting in the Chemistry 101. Chris McGowan walked in. He put his stuff down in the lecture hall. I was sitting in the front row. I was being a good student. My dad was a professor. I had to be a good student. And he walked up to me, and he said, "Don't ever wear that shirt in my class again." And then he walked back to the front of the class, and the first thing he said was, 50% of you will now fail my class. And he looked right at me. And I said, "I'm dead." And then he proceeded to talk about how the difficulty of his test and the difficulty of his grading was based on the outcome of any University of Texas football game. 2 people were now laughing in the class, me and him. And I realized where we were, and it actually ended up being one of the best friendships I've ever had. He was a great mentor and a great teacher. I had him for 2 years of chemistry. I got to work with him in his lab. And to this day, I have very fond memories of Chris McGowan and my time in that chemistry department. So he was a great influence on me about teaching and about interacting with students and about taking things that are fun. And I owe him $1 from this year, which really bugs me. But he was a lot of fun. And then there were 2 nursing professors, 2 nursing faculty who really had a big influence on me. One was Linda Crawford, who was my faculty advisor. And she went above and beyond what any faculty member should have to do to help me get through nursing school. Because there was one thing that every nurse had to do, and that was go through an OB rotation. And as a guy who had 2 brothers, as the middle child, I didn't have to do anything with children growing up. I didn't babysit, I didn't change diapers, I didn't do bottles, I didn't do anything. And I knew I was going to have to go do OB. It's required. Tried to get out of it desperately. And one of the things we had to do was do a maternal follow-through, which meant we had to find some female who was pregnant, and we had to go with her to the doctor's visits. We had to go with her to the hospital when she delivered. We had to be with her after she delivered to help do all the things that they do after babies are delivered. I didn't know what it was. And I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. I'm not scared of hardly anything. And when I found out I had to do a maternal child follow-through, I was terrified. And I went to her and I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't. There's just no way I can do this." She was pregnant at the time. And she agreed to be my maternal child follow-through. And she literally held my hand while she went through the process of doing all this to get me through this OB rotation. And I didn't pass out. And her husband, I don't even remember his name. He was great. I don't remember his name. And so she gets a tremendous amount of credit. She's over at Cookville Regional Hospital now, Linda Crawford. She's an amazing woman, and she certainly helped me and has been a great influence on me. The other one is Trudy Kelly, who was also one of my faculty members there and taught me a lot about how to take care of people who were very sick, critical care and cardiac and things like that, things that I was very interested in because I ended up doing a lot with emergency rooms and flying around in a helicopter and having a lot of fun. But I really enjoyed taking care of very sick people because she taught me that taking care of people was really what nursing was all about. It wasn't about the technology, it wasn't about the procedures, it wasn't about the tubes and the lines and the toys and the trinkets and the fun things that I ended up getting to do. It was really about taking care of someone who was sick or taking care of their family, taking a really bad situation in life and turning it around to being as positive as it could possibly be, even if the outcome ended up being something that was really sad. And it's times, it's people like her that allowed me to, whenever I was flying in a helicopter one time with a father, and his son was laying in the stretcher that we were taking care of him, he had a learning disability and he couldn't communicate very well. And we couldn't communicate with the son, so we asked the father to fly with us so that we could have him communicate with the son and answer questions for us. Well, they were in a car wreck, and his wife also had a broken leg. We had to leave his wife behind at another hospital because she could be taken care of where she was. And I remember him sitting in the helicopter while we were flying. We were taking care of his son, and he just cried all the way from Somerset, Kentucky to Lexington. And I was able to just put my hand on his shoulder and just say, it's going to be all right. You do what you need to do right now, because when we land, I need you to be a dad who can communicate to people. And I took care of his son while he cried. And then when we landed, he gave me a hug, and he said, thanks. And he went down and he was a dad again. And it's times like that that I was able to take the things I learned at Tech. It weren't the fancy technology. It wasn't the artificial intelligence stuff that I do research with now, or the virtual reality stuff that I do research with now. It was the people skills. Learning how to listen, how to talk, how to invest in someone else's life. The things that the Tennessee Tech teachers taught me that allowed me to make a difference whenever I got out there in a helicopter or an emergency room. And those are the things I remember the most, and those are the times that I really value from Tennessee Tech. So I want to say thank you. The purple and gold has been good, and I do appreciate my time here. Thank you.
We're almost there. For the Department of Athletics, a 2011 chemistry graduate, Mr. Tom Pemberton. Tom Pemberton has been a Golden Eagle for 40 years, though he's only had his degree from Tech since 2011. He made his mark on the football team and as a member of its Letterman's Club, earning honors from the Ohio Valley Conference and its coaches. He left Tech before finishing his degree to sign a free agent contract with the Washington Redskins in 1975. He remained involved with Golden Eagle Athletics all these years, organizing tournaments and supporting student athletes. Pemberton earned a bachelor's degree from Mercer University School of Pharmacy, an MBA from ETSU, and has led a very successful career in healthcare. He started as a pharmacy intern, stocking shelves in Atlanta and working his way up to hold the position of pharmacy director, chief executive officer, vice president, and president at various hospitals and healthcare organizations across the Southeast. He retired from his position as Capella Healthcare's senior vice president and chief operating officer in 2009. He is the chief integration officer for Regional Care Hospital Partners, where he ensures that hospitals brought into the partnership integrate smoothly. Retired Golden Eagle men's basketball coach Mike Sutton, who teaches in Tech's RODP program, helped Tom transfer his pharmacy credits into a chemistry degree. Pemberton has told us that the experience helped him to close the loop in his life, earning his degree from the place where he met his wife Laura, played football, and made lifelong friends. Tom's daughter Jill Williams and her husband Trent, as well as brother Mike and his wife Dana, are all Tennessee Tech graduates and lifelong Golden Eagles. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize the 2014 Alumnus of the Year for the Department of Athletics, Mr. Tom Pemberton.
Well, if you'll notice, we didn't necessarily go by the agenda. So I've changed my speech 4 times, and I've forgotten 3 of those. I originally wasn't coming to Tennessee Tech. I had narrowed my choices to University of Memphis, Clemson University, and Vanderbilt. One evening, a Friday night home game, about 11:30, I came in from a date. I saw a car sitting in my driveway. License plate said Putnam County. I thought, I don't know anybody from Putnam County. And I came in, and Coach Don Wade and Coach Bob Joy were sitting in my living room with my mother and my dad eating Krispy Kreme donuts. I said hello. They said hello, didn't say a lot. So I went on downstairs and went to bed. And I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, I ought to give that school a thought, because if the guys are crazy enough to eat that much sugar at 11:30 at night, that might be a place that I need to go. So I ended up coming to Tennessee Tech because of one person, and that's Coach Bob Joy. He's no longer with us, and I miss him a lot. He ended up being like a second father to me, was with me while I was here, kept me here when I started to leave, and supported me throughout my life until he passed away just a month or so ago. Today's his birthday, so happy birthday, Coach. You'll notice that I didn't receive my degree till 2011 because I was a football player and I was going to play football forever. That was going to be how you made your living. So I took every class in the chemistry department, and then the last quarter, I just quit going to class, and all I did was stay on the field and kick footballs. I found out real quick that professional football is a business, especially when they call you in and ask you for your playbook, and you go, "Coach, I don't have a playbook, I'm a punter." And they say, "Well, we don't need you anymore." So I went home, sat in my living room with my dad, and he said, "So what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I don't have a degree. I guess I could go back and coach." He said, "Well, why don't you go to pharmacy school?" So I went to pharmacy school, ended up getting an MBA at East Tennessee State, and Coach Sutton caught me at a golf tournament a few years ago and said, "How many college credits do you have?" And with having those 2 degrees, I had a lot. He said, "How would you like to have a degree from Tennessee Tech?" And I said, "That would mean everything in the world to me, because not only did I play football there, I met people that changed my life here. I've mentioned one, Coach Joey. Two, Dr. Banks in the chemistry department. I learned a lot from Dr. Banks. He was someone that took an interest in me, not only as a student and academically, but personally. There's a lot of difference in professors. As I went through school, I found that out. I will tell you that he is the best that I've ever had at any of the universities I've ever attended, because one thing that Dr. Banks was, he was a teacher and not a teller. And there's a big difference in those two. Miss Wheatley also changed my life. She taught me to roll it out of bed and get to class and go to lab and do the things that you needed to do to be successful. So a lot of people have been a lot of things to me here at this university, and I'm honored to accept this, but there are a couple other people that I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He's changing my life on a daily basis. And I'd also like to thank the little girl from Sparta, Tennessee, that I convinced to be my wife 41 years ago. She has stood behind me and pushed. She's used a boot a few times too. She stood in front of me and pulled, but she's always stood beside me and walked hand in hand through life, through the good times and the bad. So I love you more than life, Lori. I want to thank the university and the athletic department for this honor. Thank you very much.
Before Tom sits down, I'd like to ask our other recipients to stand one more time. And as they do that, I want you to think about the stories that we've heard tonight and know that this continues an incredibly long tradition of outstanding alumni from Tennessee Tech University. So would our awardees please stand?
Again, thank you all so much for coming. I get goosebumps every year during this ceremony listening to all the stories. And so I appreciate every one of you and for being here and making this such an enjoyable evening for everyone.